All right, we're live. What's up, the 3 people on the call? Happy Tuesday to you all. We're gonna get started officially in like about a minute. I'm gonna let some people continue to come in. I see Akiva's already here. What's up, man? Yeah, so we'll give it about a minute, then I'll do a quick preamble, and we'll spend basically the first half of the call talking about Akiva and his really interesting project. And then the second half of the call, we're going to go through Maker Relay Episode 5 and see if we could use it instead of my usual agenda to keep you guys updated. But yeah, give it maybe 30 more seconds. And I will start. All right, cool. I guess I could start off pretty much now. So, welcome everybody. Welcome to July 28th edition to the July 28th edition of the MakerDAO community call. My name is David Utrobin. I work in the community development department at the foundation, so I get the good pleasure of working with a ton of community members that are just building and consistently investing themselves into the success of the protocol. And Akiva has definitely been one of those people. He's been around the Maker community quite literally for years. I've been seeing him around even in these community calls for years. So definitely going to be a warm welcome to have Akiva on the call. He's going to demo for us his product, but you know what? I'm not going to spoil the name of it or what it is. I'm just going to invite Akiva on to the screen right now. So Akiva, you should have an invite, and I'll let you do your own introduction and the project introduction, because you could probably do it way better justice than I can.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Akiva?
Hey, so I'm just going to tell you a bit about my background and then about the project, and then we're going to have my business partner, Vitaly, do a quick demo of the live platform on testnet.
All right, sweet.
So I found out about MakerDAO from reading the white paper back in 2015. Back then, there was a list of pages for all Ethereum projects. They were all listed on one page, and you could read about all of them. So I was really excited. So I read every Ethereum project there was. They all seemed pretty promising, but I was very excited about MakerDAO even back then. And I I I followed in the Ethereum community until the DAO hack, and after that, I decided to take a break.
What kind of break?
I just
Intellectual?
Yeah, intellectual break.
Yeah.
So I came back in 2018 when I started working for KPMG, and my boss Ashwin, who's on the call, said, my former boss said, why don't you research all the different blockchain startups and see which ones are disruptive? So I was looking back into MakerDAO, and I was really impressed at how far you guys had come. You had launched on mainnet with SCD. DAI was stable. There were tons of partnerships. It was very exciting. And then right that summer, it was the first time that the DSR was announced as going to be part of the project. So that really excited me. And I decided to give a lecture on it. I gave a lecture on the DSR at KPMG to the financial management team. And then that was just the summer position. So after that,
So quick question. How was the lecture received?
They liked it, but they thought it was very early. They didn't see immediate use. They just thought it's like a cool project.
Reasonably. Yeah.
So then I left, and I tried getting people on board to MakerDAO, and this was just acting as an independent, just on my own time, talking to investment companies and whatnot. And when I was explaining the DSR to them, they were like, well, if people sell their stable coins, then DAI goes down. If DAI goes down, the DSR goes up. If the DSR goes up, I pay more on my vaults. And that's not an exposure I can handle of people selling their stable coins because I know nothing about that. I don't want any exposure to people that doing that. It's completely untenable. So I started thinking about the different ways people could hedge their DSR, or now it's called base rate, their base rate exposure. And there's different ways people hedge interest rate exposure. Sometimes people use futures, sometimes people use options, and in our case, what we're going to discuss is the use of forwards or forward rate agreements. So there are advantages and disadvantages with all the different derivatives. With futures and options, they work, but it could become an issue if the DSR is going up and down very quickly, and people are doing it over a long duration. It could become very expensive to hedge. So one of the ways people hedge is using FRAs. FRAs are similar to an interest rate swap. They attempt to solve interest rate volatility, but they're between, rather than a regular interest swap between two borrowers, one is going from fixed to floating, one is going from floating to fixed. An FRA will try to take two people with interest rate exposures, one being an asset holder, in our case DAI, and one being with a liability, in our case a vault, and attempt to stabilize both of them. But what you can discover quickly from this is that even FRAs might not be perfectly suited, because if the DSR goes up for the whole duration and then goes down at the end, the FRA will settle just from the beginning and the end. So it won't take into account that the DSR was higher for that entire time. So our design is more like what we call a continuous FRA. So it will be like a series of mini contracts. So there will be maybe a series of forwards for every single day or every single week or every single month. Yeah, like a perpetual FRA. Yeah, and it goes for every period that the DSR has changed. And what this does is it actually allows you to simulate the experience of what a stable DSR would be. So if you own a vault, and you want to stabilize your base rate is a function of DSR, as we know. The exposure will actually perfectly simulate what it would be if the base rate was never changing on you. So DAI can go crazy. DAI can go to all over the place. The base rate can go all over the place. And from your perspective, you're owning your vault, it will be as if the base rate never changed at all.
Cool. So I actually was when I was preparing for this call, I was reading through the white paper and trying to draw some charts to try to visualize exactly kind of like what your technology does. So if you'd like, right before your partner comes on and does the demo of the actual tech, I would love for you to give me maybe some feedback or tell me if I have this kind of right. So I'm gonna.
Well, the thing is, we like to think that over time there will be minimal changes in both DSR spread. Now, DSR spread was just voted to take out of the governance cycle. And also we want to see some more stability in risk parameters. And I think in your document, you spoke a lot about like volatility and spread and whatnot.
Yeah, because the stability fees are not fixed rates, right? And the DSR is not a fixed rate. Yeah, so I was trying to check out a few different scenarios, but I am just curious if this is the general like construction of how it works, because what your platform does is it introduces a counterparty, but that counterparty is essentially what's enabling you to have that fixed rate. But the counterparty is in turn kind of taking that risk, similar to how one would take a risk providing a credit default swap, right? Like pretty similar, but like obviously different in context?
Yeah, so the counterparty has a different exposure than the vault because they stand to gain when the DSR goes up and they stand to lose when the DSR goes down.
Yeah,
So what this actually ends up simulating is that imagine if you bought DAI, you did not have to lend it out. You didn't have to lend it. You didn't have to give it to anyone. You just kept it in your wallet and the interest rate stayed the same over the duration.
sure. Yeah. So I guess exactly. I wanted to get a thought or two on that. So if a person who is lending the 100 DAI, who's the counterparty to this FRA that your borrower is looking for, that 100 DAI, if they were to just put it in DSR and forget about it, they would be safe from downside, but they would be also kind of giving up the opportunity cost because the rates can also move in their favor. So even though they might put their money in DSR, if the FRA is making a spread on what the actual vault stability fee is, then you're making like DSR plus whatever that spread is, right?
Yeah, you
So
might earn some extra, sure.
exactly. So yeah, I was trying to understand kind of the properties of that counterparty, why somebody would lend into this kind of contract. Like what are kind of the risks? What are yeah, what's the attractiveness of being in that position?
So I really like the publication that Maker Foundation made when the DSR was first coming out, where they talked about why would someone go into the DSR, and they said, well, you can lend out your DAI in all these different places, and the conclusion that they came to is that if you just lock it in the DSR, it is in some sense insured by MKR holders. So people, even if they can earn a higher interest rate on different lending platforms, they often choose to just keep it in the DSR and not go into different lending platforms because they want to keep it on their own. They don't want to give it to anybody else. Now, in the CFRA deal structure, we inherit that property.
Hmm.
So just like when you hold your DAI in the DSR, you don't have to worry about vault holders defaulting. Also, with us, since there's a separation between the DAI given to the borrower and the DAI held by the DAI holder, because of that separation, we inherit the characteristics of pure DAI and DSR, and we get that default protection.
Right, right. Yeah, that I get. That I get. So maybe it would be helpful even just to, as an illustration to the people watching. I'm gonna just quickly share like this this little diagram that I made, and it's definitely like overly simplistic, right? Because there's things that are not here. For example, I believe Akiva's platform also like charges a some sort of like very small service fee on this whole CFRA contract. But the idea is this, right? And Akiva, feel free to stop me or to clarify anywhere where I might get it wrong. But here's the borrower and here's the lender, right? The borrower is looking for 100 DAI, 3% for 12 months, right? That's the desired rate. But obviously, in Maker Vaults, this stability fee is variable. So that's why he's going to your
Exactly.
CFRA contract. So what your contract does, right, uh, is pulls that, it takes your borrower's collateral, it stores it in the vault. It borrows the 100 DAI from the vault, but the only difference is that at the same time, for the FRA to actually come into existence, it needs the lender, a counterparty, to deposit that 100 DAI that you're borrowing. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly the same 100 DAI because instead of going to you directly, it's going to the DSR, and it's being used as a hedge against this
Exactly.
volatile rate, right?
Exactly. That's
Okay,
it.
cool.
So why don't we get Vitali on to do a demo now?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. So give me just a second. All right, you should have an invite, Vitaly. So whenever you're on, you're on. So in the meantime, Kenton asks, how are you guys handling cases where the DSR spread is not zero?
So in that case, the DSR spread risk would be absorbed by the borrower, and our contracts are capable of being nimble in that scenario. But that's why we're very happy to see now the recent MIP that just passed that took DSR spread out of the cycle. So now we can enjoy some more stability.
Yeah. Hey, Vitaly, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having us on the call.
Yeah.
I can also make a couple of comments on earlier conversation. So that's the reason we actually can say that this loan is a synthetic loan. So there is a lending side, there is a borrowing side, but money actually does not change hands, and that's why the deposit is insured. That's why it's much safer than any other loan, any other transaction in a traditional sense, even with crypto. There's considering that Maker is autonomous already, that it completely excludes the human factor and the other risks. So yeah, I'll be happy to start, and I will make all kinds of comments along the way.
Okay, cool. So which testnet is the platform currently running on?
We're currently on Kovan, and soon we will be going to mainnet with some corrections. So how do I share the screen?
You should, if you move your mouse up, there should be like a little share screen button. You know what? It might be that. Hold on one second. If you're not seeing it, then I might have to kick one of you guys off. So Akiva, I'm gonna kick off your video. Yeah, maybe now you should be able to share your screen. If not, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna see if I could toggle it in my settings here. Oh no. Yeah, for some reason I'm not seeing the option for me to enable your screen sharing, but yeah.
There is share, just a share. I don't know if it means no. It shares the event. It's not sharing the screen.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, I think that's so interesting. Yeah, last week we had a hackathon showcase. They didn't have any issues. So let me see if maybe I have it in my settings or something. No, everything is set. When you scroll over the actual video feed, on top you should see like focus screen, toggle mic, toggle video.
Yeah. Share screen.
There should be one that says share screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're not seeing that.
I see.
Oh, you see it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
I just never used this thing.
No worries. I was also just making sure that it wasn't something like that I might have overlooked. And I saw really quick before you start. I saw one question asked in the question module from Ivan Sokolov. So he's a native Russian speaker, and I think his question is a little bit about whether we have more resources in Russian. So Ivan, if you're still on the call, just reach out to me afterwards. I do think we have some older Russian translated resources, but I can get you like I believe the updated white paper in Russian, and if you're interested in that kind of stuff, I'd love to connect with you. Yeah, so Vitaly, it's all yours.
Great. Yeah. So so that's the starting page. We are currently I'm showing our beta deployment in Kovan. I have several wallets here because I will be playing role of both lender and borrower and the admin of the site. And I will be opening the contract. first it will be in the borrower role. So we will go inside, and so currently there are no. This is a main screen where you can see all currently pending, all currently running agreements. There are no active agreements at this point, but there are some ended test agreements which we have been running before, and these are which they finished already. But you can see that they had as a collateral, they all used the Ethereum in the amount of 1 ETH, and the transaction was worth 100 DAI. Some crazy interest rates, because we just wanted to test this system in various conditions, but it doesn't really matter. It works. So if I want, our flow starts always from currently from borrower. If he wants to create a new agreement, let's say we are with collateral ETH, and we want to place 1 ETH collateral. It can be also 1,000 ETH, million ETH, and it immediately tells us that maximum DAI, pretty much like in Oasis, how much we want to generate. Let's generate 100 DAI. What's the interest? So that's the core part of our offering, the interest rate percentage, which we want, which I want to pay as a borrower. Maybe I already agreed upon this rate with a counterparty, so I will just put some 7%, for example, and so this agreement should expire in, so it says days, but as a result of certain error, it's actually in minutes currently. So 1 month is 42,300 minutes. We will, no, let's do something quick.
So you can have even a single day expiration on this kind of agreement.
Yes, we can actually just like Maker, we can have a single day. We can have I would say hours, but it would require certain certain changes.
And also, Akiva mentioned that you can maintain this position perpetually, right? So you can also. Is there like an option to set it not to expire, or do you have to just like roll it over?
So we currently there is an expiration date, because it's an ongoing agreement. It's agreement between two parties, so there is official expiration date, but we don't have. We might consider the perpetual option as well. So that's something that did not happen before, but let's try again. Okay. Let's see how it works with 3 days. Okay, so transaction confirmed.
So this is the borrower creating the offer, right?
Yeah.
So that the way it goes is the offer is created, then the counterparty has to manually find it, accept it, enter into it, and then that's the starting point of the agreement. Right?
Yeah. So currently we have this pending agreement, which see it all. We can enter into details and see that Meanwhile, there is nothing available. We have just initial debt value. We want to be 100 DAI. And 1S collateral, 7%, and we don't have a lender address because there is no lender yet. On the right side, we will see the updates history, which will be ongoing, running, etc. So there is also option to add collateral in order to mint more, or in case of the fall fall in the collateral. So let's switch to, so currently this agreement is pending. What does it mean pending? It means that we safeguard ourselves in the beginning, and we as administrators, we will be approving all the agreements. So I will switch to the admin. So switching to the admin should bring me to.
So while
should
you're
show me
switching,
this agreement.
so while you're switching, I have a quick question. So if the FRA, let's say, is for an agreement for 7%, while in actuality, like let's say the stability fee is 0%, which it is. Then and it's for 100 DAI. The lender, when they put up the 100 DAI, they're earning the DSR plus whatever is not being paid to Maker as a stability fee, right? So they would be earning like 7% plus DSR if they were to enter into this agreement that you're currently creating, right?
So the the lender will be earning this 7%, and it in every case it goes from the DSR plus whatever borrower needs to complement. So if ongoing DSR is 0 or 2%, then the delta, the difference, will be minted from the borrower's collateral. Of course, this should be the collateral we will exhaust the collateral faster than in the usual case, but it's only reasonable because that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So currently I will approve this agreement as an admin.
Cool.
And we will move to, for some reason, things going slowly today.
It's because it's Tuesday.
Yeah, indeed. So we should have it approved, and then it becomes this agreement now moved into open category. So its status currently open. That means that it's ready to be matched. And I will become at this point I will become the lender.
Yeah.
And I will match this agreement with 100 DAI.
So as a lender, you go into the list of agreements, you go to open agreements, and you say, okay, I like this one, I like this one, and I like this one. So you go, you deposit it. So basically, it's very kind of market based. Like if you want to have if you want to find a match for a lender, you have to put up I guess a competitive offer or an offer that makes sense over whatever term you're looking for, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So again, go to open agreement. So now I'm lender. I have as a lender, I have some DAI. I can see here this open agreement, and I can do a match on this agreement.
So I think Kenton already asked, but when you hit match and it matches, is that the point where the borrower receives the DAI, or does the borrower receive the 100 DAI at the very opening of the position, even before?
No, this is the point when the borrower receives the DAI, and I will show you exactly where he receives it.
Got it.
So now the DAI is going to be spent, and we can enter this agreement. And see what is happening. Let's see. It should be.
So Kenton writes, interesting. So is it safe to say that Akiva at its current state favors the lenders since the rate delta is covered by the borrowers? Akiva wrote, in some sense, the borrower does have more risk, specifically in risk premium. That's why we're starting the vault holder advocacy group in the MIP 13 subproposal. With regards to the time waiting, we are going to add an additional feature for the lender to initiate. Okay, I heard Vital, you might have wanted to comment on Kenton's question.
No, the Akiva, what Akiva said is
Yeah.
fine with me.
Cool.
I just don't see the conversation. Yeah, again, things are slow. I probably should have confirmed again.
No worries.
So
Yeah,
the situation.
Sorry, go for it.
With the situation which you described with the marketplace, it's yes, this is the ultimate vision that we have certain marketplace. So we had two transactions. One is spare, we just don't need, but one has been actually activated. So I believe that we will see. Yeah, okay. So this contract, so the marketplace where many borrowers and lenders come and make their offers and close these offers. Yes, this is the ultimate vision. We call it retail launch, and we will be there within certain period of time. Hopefully not too far. But before that, we will launch it with some private clients who could use it as a platform. So instead of having legal contracts between various financial institutions, for example, institution A wants to lend to institution B, and by the way, these institutions can be also in completely disjoint jurisdictions. Like they can be in the countries which do not have between them any cooperation agreements. But still, these institutions can find each other and say, hey, we will do it on this platform. And that obviates any need of making legal transactions because that's the system guarantees basically.
Since the recourse, the custody, everything is handled on chain, it kind of makes sense. Yeah.
So currently I am looking at this ongoing contract as a lender, still as a lender. So I don't have any assets to withdraw, and this would be for the borrower. This would be non-zero DAI value. What else we see? We see the parameters of this agreement, basic parameters, when it starts, when it ends. Vault info, and pretty much it's the same vault ID here that is on you can see it on Oasis, but you don't own it. Basically our contract currently owns it, and this borrower's vault. And this is like FRA, some parameters which are ongoing for our testing. I'm not sure they will stay here. On the right-hand side, we have updates history. So when agreement was initiated, when agreement was approved, and when agreement was matched. That's all we have currently. So we can switch currently back to the borrower and see how we can pull it. So as I'm currently borrower, let's see if it will let me switch transparently and smoothly.
While you do that, I'm just going to quickly read the chat. Kenton wrote, can lenders also create agreements, or does it always start from the borrower side? And then Akiva answered right after saying, right now, only borrowers initiate the flow, but we're adding more features.
Yeah, that's...
Do you guys envision kind of a system where lenders would put up like agreements that they would enter into? And something like that kind of system. I'm just imagining what more features means in the context of Akiva's comment.
I guess these things are there are many solutions which are possible.
Right.
The question is what the market will want. So we will, I guess in the beginning we will adjust to a few institutional clients with whom we will do some private launch and private beta launch. By the way, so I'm currently borrower here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that I have DAI to withdraw, which is 100 DAI. I can just take them into my wallet. And that completes the entire transaction.
Nice.
Now I borrowed 100 DAI with 7% fixed interest rate.
So it's this step right here where the person withdraws the DAI. In like later iterations of your smart contract, is it possible to like batch the lender matching with like pushing the DAI to the person's wallet to like reduce the number of transactions for this whole process? Or is it kind of just yeah? Do you see this as kind of like necessary or just a small technical hurdle?
So yeah, so it's definitely possible. But if you look at most of the DeFi websites like DXDY or even Oasis by Maker, you can see that there is some local storage for your funds, and if you want to get these funds out, you have to spend your own gas.
Right.
It's just a matter of who wants to pay for what. So yeah, that basically completes the. We currently have a running agreement which will run for 3 days, 4,320 minutes, with
cool.
7% interest rate. We might add some information here about whether for example, I systematically forget to withdraw DAI if I want to when I create this contract. So maybe we should add some indicators like the collateral is inside.
For withdrawal. Right.
Yeah. So this is, but you can you can switch here and see. Currently, there is nothing. There are some ended agreements. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I like it. It's a very clean interface. I think after wrapping my head around how it actually works, I think I understand the way the hedging and everything works a lot better. Kenton asks an interesting question in the chat. He wrote, "What about granularity? Can multiple lenders be matched with a single agreement?" And
these are all possible features. So pooling and pooling of lenders, pooling of borrowers, slicing. For example, if one big lender wants to lend like $10 million in chunks of 20,000, then let him do it. So we definitely for it. But currently we are like focusing on the MVP. MVP is the point-to-point lending.
Yeah. And it looks like it's working, and it looks. I like the interface a lot. It looks pretty clean for the end user, and I'm excited to see where you guys take it. Akiva wrote as an answer, the reason is that the deals we're starting with are often pre-negotiated off-chain. Yeah, right. Naturally. Cool. Well, if there's any other questions for Vitaly and Akiva, feel free to use the question module at the bottom of Crowdcast, or you could just type it in the chat. I'm happy to like read it for you. But otherwise, in like a minute or two, I think we could we could transition. But yeah, I find this very interesting because I think that there's a number of different like constructions that are coming about with regards to derivatives and especially with regards to like dealing with
The general
DSR.
thought,
Yeah.
the general philosophy, I think, here is that currently the whole blockchain and DeFi is sort of laying the fundamental layers which provide some basic services. Essentially, many people see Maker as a central bank. Central bank does not deal with people. Central banks they set monetary policy and they maintain stability of their economies and it's not a function. And although like users can manipulate their vaults and do actions, it's not necessarily in their best interest, and many people are not that technically savvy. So when you build layers on top of it and connect it to specific users with their specific requirements, then you make it much more customer friendly, expand your market, and
Absolutely. All right, I have kind of a curveball question for you. What are your feelings about gas costs?
that's yes. It has been on my mind for a couple of days. Yeah, the gas costs are outrageous.
Yeah.
I think it's not only me. It's Vitalik Buterin, which is my namesake. Conveniently, he's aware of it, and it only gives them another reason to push forward with Ethereum 2.0 and further improvements. So it has to go down, otherwise it will either invite competition or reduce the number of users or both.
That's well said. When do you guys expect to have a mainnet version of your platform up and running?
So we plan a private beta about in 2 weeks time from now.
Nice.
With a couple of with a broker dealer which we are working with, and some other partners, and they will hopefully run some real deals on this platform. And I cannot say much about the retail launch.
Yeah,
I
don't
think
worry,
it's
don't worry.
further.
That's reasonable. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and spending some time demoing the platform for us. I thought it was super interesting. I
My
know
pleasure.
at least Kenton thought it was very interesting. Yeah, he asked a ton of questions, so thank you so much, Kenton. Uh, and also I hope that the people watching found it interesting. And if anything, how can the people watching reach you guys if they have like questions or if they're interested in working with you all?
Our website. I am on. We both on Rocket Chat also. Maker. You can ping us wherever.
Okay, cool. I'll make sure to leave the contact information in the event page as well, just in case.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Vitaly. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna
Thank
let you
you.
go now. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That was Vitaly and Akiva. But yeah, that was really enjoyable. So for the next about 17 minutes or so, we're gonna go through what a working group in our community has been putting together for the last 5 weeks. This new newsletter called Maker Relay. It's meant to be a weekly newsletter that is most useful to stakeholders that are tuning into MakerDAO kind of daily, right? MKR voters, integrators, keepers. It's kind of all of the week to week important updates that you need to get. And I used to do that with my agenda, but we've been working together with the team to kind of combine our our formats and to produce something that's more public and yeah, and this has been kind of the result. And it is obviously a work in progress. So we do ask anybody who's regularly reading these week to week for their feedback. There's a little link to a survey at the very end of it. So you could use that to give us your feedback. Otherwise, yeah, just you could shoot me a message, you could shoot Tim a message, or you could just write in general in Rocket Chat. But either way, for this next part, I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. let me just rearrange my windows a little bit more comfortably for you all. And this should be good. All right, sweet. Yeah, so Maker Relay. So Maker Relay is really great. It does very similar things to my old agenda. It kind of puts governance up front. As you can see, there's a nice votes section to start us off. There's been a couple of executive votes this week, one of which passed, another of which is happening right now. So there's a executive to pass all of the MIPS and sub proposals that went through the July governance cycle, which we are ending right now. So it's currently July 28th, so we're literally right at the end of this governance cycle. And this is the final executive vote to get all those MIPS and sub proposals across the line. And also, this vote includes an ETH debt ceiling increase, which I believe there's very united sentiment around that it needs to happen. The executive vote that passed was USDC liquidation ratio change. I think it was lowered to 110%. And also a reapproval of the Gitcoin light feed key. So Gitcoin actually made a boo-boo the other week and burned the keys that controlled their feed after we ratified them as light feed, I think a few weeks ago. So this is just a quick fix, and thanks to the really kind of the great work that Nick does. He was working with Gitcoin, and this is kind of a super easy fix, but yeah, just needed to replace this key. So yeah, that was already passed. So yeah, problem solved. Quick note for keepers: the current executive, which is this governance cycle bundle, is gonna be changing the liquidation system, which includes the flip, flap, and flop auction contracts. So be ready to update your software shortly after the spell is cast. You can visit the link here, and it's gonna the new version of the Keeper software will go live in that repo, and it's going to include all of the new contract addresses. So stay tuned if you're a Keeper. For the current live governance polls, we have quite a few going on right now. We have our usual weekly base rate adjustment. We have a couple of debt ceiling votes. There's a TUSD debt ceiling vote and a WBTC debt ceiling vote. And likewise, we are voting to add DYDX to the ETHUSD Oracle. Another thing I really like about Maker Relay is the way that they've formatted these governance polls. You could check out the actual page to go vote on the poll here, or you can check out the relevant discussion thread if you want to become more informed before you make your vote. There's also a wave of community greenlight polls happening right now. They are going to end on the 3rd of August, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you have the option of voting yes or no for, what is it, 11 different collateral applications. So their applications are linked, and also the governance poll page is linked here too. And as a reminder, community greenlight polls are not authoritative in any like very strict way. They are used mainly as a sentiment kind of measuring tool for the domain teams. So in MakerDAO, we have a number of domain teams that review each collateral that's onboarded. We have a smart contracts team, we have a oracles team, and we have a risk team. And so, the results of the community greenlight polls help inform the priority of any given one of these for the domain teams. But the domain teams reserve the right. And the domain teams reserve the right to kind of prioritize one over the other. But regardless, it's very, very useful to participate in these. It helps with the decision making going forward a lot. So I highly encourage MKR voters to vote in those. All right, Mips updates. So a handful of things. I'm just going to quickly read through it. But this is week 4 of the July governance cycle. And actually, currently, right now, at the time of this call, there's a working group call to try to perfect MIP 17, which is which is the MIP around adjusting the risk premium. And oh no, this goes to a Zoom call. I thought it went to the MIP. Apologies. You know what? I have the MIP 17 right here, actually. Yeah, so MIP 17 is about the weekly actual debt ceiling and actual risk premium adjustments. It's kind of titled funny in my opinion, but the idea of it is super important, and I think it does need a lot more work and a lot more eyes on it. So definitely reach out to Charles if you're interested in providing some feedback around it. I believe that they're working hard to try to get it ready for the August governance cycle, which the submission period for the August governance cycle is during week 1. So it should end on the 7th of August. So basically, there's about a week and a half to get this thing polished. So the maker improvement proposals that are actually currently in an executive vote right now are these 3 plus these 2 sub-proposals. The weekly governance cycle is being officially ratified if this executive passes. The meta parameter adjustments MIP is also being passed. This isn't really a technical change. It's more just a place where we keep track of meta parameters. For example, the base rate and DSR spread are both parameters that we talk about, but aren't represented in exactly those terms in the code. So they're, quote, meta parameters because they're slightly different than the code. Yes, and then the last thing, sorry, not the last thing, but the last MIP, full MIP that might be ratified as a result of this executive vote that's happening right now is the liquidation system upgrade. So this, Mariano talked about it in a number of different places in the past, specifically the governance calls that happen every Thursday. I believe there's been a couple where the liquidation system 1.1 upgrade was discussed. But regardless, you could check out the MIP and you could see some of the well-needed upgrades. It's very exciting to have this getting passed. And yeah, and then there's a couple of. Oh, I see. I see. One of our call members just informed us that the executive passed. Yeah, so it looks like all of this stuff passed, and we'll come into we'll pat John. Yeah, John. Yeah, thank you, John. Appreciate it. I could read your last name, but I wasn't sure if the J was for John or for Jim, or didn't want to guess. But thank you. Yeah, so exactly. All of these MIPS and subproposals are now passed. The 2 subproposals are one to remove the DSR spread, which is this subproposal for modifying meta parameter adjustments. It just removes the DSR spread, I believe. And then the second one is the submission for all the domain work requirements for onboarding Mana. And this might result in a Mana vault type being passed through a weekly governance cycle very soon. MIP 20 did not pass this last month's governance cycle. It's in the request for comment phase. If you don't know what MIP 20 is about, you're about to find out. But Lev submitted it, and it is a slightly different than what we've been talking about in our community as the target rate feedback mechanism, TRFM. This is a similar idea, different implementation, different, slightly different description, but highly suggest that you check it out if this is your forte. It definitely needs some eyes and some feedback. All right, cool. So there is one thing that this maker relay did miss, besides the vault but I would have added I would have added this into the same section. But a quick update on the PSM. The Maker Foundation. Actually, let me see if I could quickly just grab that thread because I don't think I have it linked. So the PSM was a big topic of discussion for basically the last month and a half, as all of this yield farming and DAI peg kind of worries crept into our community. The PSM was one really interesting idea for helping with DAI liquidity and helping with defending the peg. So I believe You know what? I'm actually just gonna post it afterwards because I can't remember exactly posted it. But the foundation basically came out and said, we won't be working on the PSM ourselves, but the community can, if somebody arises, submit a MIP and submit an implementation, and if Maker Governance wants it, they can fund it. But as of right now, the foundation is not going to be working on the PSM solution. And also, I believe last week's governance poll about the PSM actually failed by like a very, very close number. I think it was like 50.4% against the PSM. So yeah, in line with that governance poll result and the foundation stance, the PSM is kind of dead in the water. But the next steps would be, if anybody in the community is interested in working on the PSM, it would be to probably file a declaration of intent to work on the project and to do some work gathering sentiment in the community about it. Yeah, so that's it for PSM. As for the vault compensation analysis team, the group is still looking for more solutions and feedback. Makerman, Monet Supply, and I believe a couple others, they created a proposal that they presented a few weeks ago. Since then, they've condensed the proposal into 3 practical poll parameters, which I list here. And basically, yeah, MKR voters are going to have to communicate a bit more clearly with the vault compensation analysis team about whether they want to go forward. And there's kind of a number of things to look at with regards to the vault compensation team. So check out the recent thread, which this points to a comment, but this is the thread that has the most recent updates and statuses about it. But yeah, definitely feel free to to read, give feedback, and yeah, see if the community is interested in moving this thing forward. And we got 3 more minutes left, so I'm just really quickly gonna run through the very last of this. Some general state of the peg stuff. DAI is still pretty regularly trading about above $1. I believe as of yesterday, the 7-day volume weighted average price was almost about $1.02. We've seen an all-time high of DAI this week, so we're looking at 283 million DAI in the screenshot. I think it might be a little bit more now, or a little bit less. Who knows? But regardless, 283 million total DAI. That's a beautiful thing to behold. And yeah, and also we've seen ETH A vaults being used to capacity. So hopefully this week's debt ceiling raise is going to add some breathing room again. Yeah, let's see. Anything else interesting? Yeah, the last 24-hour volume weighted average price was slightly lower than the 7-day. And I believe that the YFI pool 3 unwinding, I think, helped with alleviate some of the DAI pressure in the market. But yeah, I think Cyrus and Vishesh talked about it a bit more clearly in last week's governance call. Cool. Then just some highlights from the community. Sam M, one of our most active community members, added CSV export to mkranalytics.com. And yeah, basically, if you want to aggregate any historical data that's not already included in there, open up an issue in that repo, and Sam will work with you on that. Yeah, there's some interesting forum threads that are linked here. Yeah, here, this is what I was looking for. So who was it that posted it? It was Rune. Okay, yeah. So here's actually the announcement from Rune and from the foundation about not working on the PSM. So that's there. If you're interested in any collateral onboarding application status, Long for Wisdom keeps up to date this really useful thread, and you could see pretty much all of the different collateral onboarding applications and where they are in the process. So yeah. There's also an interesting discussion thread from the forum about whether MakerDAO DAI should run simultaneously on another chain. And the very last thing that, I mean, I guess, yeah, there's not much else to talk about. But yeah, the very last thing I was saving, both for myself and naturally, I guess, Maker Relay put it towards the end as well, is this thank you to Rich Brown post. So this post was posted by Jeff Shaw. But in general, if you didn't hear already, Richard Brown is actually stepping down as a governance facilitator, and he's also stepping down from his role as head of communication at the Maker Foundation. And he, yeah, there's no drama associated with this. There's no crazy story. Rich has been a huge leader in MakerDAO for the longest time, and he was really instrumental in giving me my opportunity to help build and work towards making the protocol successful. So he is taking a long needed and well-deserved break. So he voiced some excitement about being a less committed community member still lurking around the Maker. So I'm really excited to see Rich come around. But in general, his humor, his hard work, his thoughtfulness, and his ability to keep things amicable in big group discussions has been just nothing short of a great help to our community. So huge thank you to Rich Brown, and that thank you doesn't even do it close to justice. But yeah. And besides that, yeah, you can see a list of the community events and meetings that are happening towards the bottom there. But yeah, if you have any feedback about Maker Relay, reach out, and we are interested in hearing it. We want to make it as useful for you on a weekly basis as possible. So we're at about exactly the top of the hour. I'm gonna hit the end broadcast button, and I hope this one was interesting for you all. Have a happy Tuesday.